Damon's Famous Fingers and Wings restaurant in Jessup is now open for business, practicing social distancing, but still serving that great food that Damon's is famous for. Come inside or come through the drive-thru, but Damon's is open inside and welcomes back its customers. The menu's the same, the service is fast, and the food is fantastic, and the sauces remain the same, mild, wild, insane, or inferno. The number is the same, 588-WING, 588-9464. Damon's Restaurant on West Cherry Street in Jessup. Dining room now open for business. Come on in and enjoy a great meal today.
A bank that puts people first. First Southern Bank, investing in you since 1907. Serving Jessup, Patterson, and Waycross. A true community bank led by experienced neighborhood bankers that live and work in our community. Offering competitive loan options for commercial and consumer clients. Stop by the Jessup branch and meet branch manager Mandy Yeomans and her fantastic team. Call 912-810-1540. Let First Southern Bank be your bank of choice. First Southern Bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
756 here at the Big Dog WIFO World Famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by Murphy Builder Supply, Damon's Famous Fingers and Wings, and First Southern Bank. Good morning, Bob. Good weekend?
Morning, Jonathan. Yeah, pretty good weekend. Good. Had a good time. Just hot. But,
it's miserable.
But it is what it is. Can't complain. But here's the Monday Butch and Bob Show. We had Chuck Mosley in on Thursday. We got the sheriff in today. Early voting gets underway about less than a half hour, I guess, or 8 o'clock. Where are we at?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yes, 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes. So the registrar's also be able to 8 o'clock today, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday for 3 weeks up to August the 7th, and August the 11th is the voting day. The key is to get your voters back to vote, John. So how do you go about that?
I wish I knew, but it's that's exactly the key to it, getting them back out the second time, and we all know typically they don't show up the second time in the runoffs, but we are working. I had a couple of meet and greets, but I discontinued that with the rise in COVID going back up, and I decided that wasn't a good idea. So I've got a lot of people helping me with the different people. The main thing is trying to get people back out to vote. You need to let your voice be heard.
Well, going back to the first election, there were 4 candidates in the race. You finished on top, but like I said, if you add the numbers, they state more people voted against you than for you. So how did you look at it? You just excited you were finished on top out of the 4 and go from there? Or how did you view the first go-around?
I was pleased with it. I mean, with that many people in there, I expected a runoff, and I didn't expect to be almost 2-1 against each one of them. I've heard that. Well, 60% of the people ain't, or 62, whatever it was not happy with me. But I've had a lot of Paul supporters, a lot of Toby supporters call me and tell me that they're going to me this time. Like I say, the key is getting them back out, and you're going to pick up a few, you're going to lose a few.
Yeah, like I said, the key is who can get their people back to the polls. Again, I told Chuck the good news is school, if they start school on time, people will be back, so they should be here to vote. I said, we'll see how the vote count goes through this week will give us a good indication, what the turnout's going to look like. But hopefully there's a good turnout. I was talking to somebody today, they were talking about how frustrating it is. You look at Wayne County, you got 30,000 people in the county. You got about 18,000 registered voters, and only about 6,000 voted in a 30,000 county for the sheriffs, which is kind of absurd when you think about it. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I didn't even think we had 18,000. I thought it was more like 16. Just a little over half's usually about what is registered to vote, right. And then less than half of that votes. So.
All right. So, but everybody complains, right?
Always.
So, well, tell us how the campaign's going. Like I said, what have you done since the first go round? Did you take a couple of days off and then regroup, or
I did. I took some time, much needed time off. Matter of fact, I left 2 days after the primary election for about 3 or 4 days, and came back. And I've been working to, the deal with me is, I got a job. And anybody that thinks surfing is 9 to 5 is bad wrong. I mean, it requires weekends. Almost every night you're expected to be somewhere or need to be somewhere. So I do the best I can. But I got a lot of people out there that help me and talk for me, and that's the biggest thing. Get back out and vote. That's what I'm encouraging people. Vote. Go vote. That's what's important. And but the 2 meet and greets I did have before I decided to discontinue that was. I had one at James Vann's place, and I had one at Gardai, and that it was just a little peanut boil. It wasn't anything real big, but there was a lot of people came through. More than 100 came through at Gardai. James Van, and both of these are just, kind of walk in, walk out. It's not everybody there at the same time, but, we had finger foods there, but there was well over 100 showed up there. And, and I was pleased to see a lot of them that, that I didn't have very many family there because this COVID stuff had started. So it was mostly friends, and I had a lot of people that I met that night, especially at James Van's and Gardai. So it went well, but I wish I could continue to do that. But I had other ones planned throughout the county, but I just don't think it's a good idea right now to do that.
What's on the minds of the voters? Will they have any concerns that come to you? I mean,
well,
I go back to, like I said, I go back to the forum. They only had one forum. The chamber held that. I was able to attend that, and the only issues I heard, one was, of course, the overtime, which you've already addressed. You might want to talk about that again, and I can't. They talk about drugs, but drugs are everywhere. So those are the only two items, issues I saw at the forum.
And I hear that. Of course, it depends on which side you're talking to, but I hear it a lot. So if it ain't broke, why fix it? And or why do we need change? And those are the two things I hear the most. But overtime, as I said. In 2019, during the year, I don't mean that we all had 9 vacancies at one time, but we had 9 that year. Matter of fact, I sent 6 people through the academy that one year. Every academy, I had at least 2 in it that year. I hired 3 from other agencies that were already certified. But even when you hire a certified officer from another agency, it's still a period of time before, this county's big. It's like, I don't know if people realize this, almost 40 times bigger than the city of Jessup that we have to work and patrol. And so learning the roads is a big deal, even with the certified officers that you don't have to, train actually in law enforcement. They've been around a little while. But those are some of the things we're confronted with. But 3 of those that came out of jail, 1 came out of 9-1, I sent to school, which means that creates openings in those areas. So we have to, fill those as well. So that took care of a lot of our overtime. We also, sick and annual leave you have to deal with. You got major medical issues sometimes with your employees. I've had one that was pregnant. I've had one that had a stroke. Different things like that you had to deal with. Weather events such as the tornado in Odom, missing persons. We spent all of Mother's Day weekend looking for a missing person up there in the crossroads. And, I'm so blessed to have the wonderful people in Wayne County that showed up and help us with these things when we got missing persons.
I think we
got the tornado or something like that.
Yeah, I think we had 2 missing persons back to back.
We get reports of them every day.
But again, they have searches and things like that. Helicopter comes in.
Right.
So there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of expense there.
Well, a lot of resources you have to use. And as far as the drugs go, I looked at it in 2019, despite being shorthanded, despite restructuring the drug unit like I did, as I explained last time, I've joined the Southeast Regional Task Force, this GBI run, to hit the major drug dealers that bring drugs to the county. I also have a local unit here, which I'm still trying to build up some more, that's doing most of the local stuff in Wayne County. And then I have my K-9 units, which I'm not through with that yet. I want to try to attach a deputy to each one of those and make a traffic unit because they got to move those drugs. So interdiction unit, that makes sense to me. And all 3 of them working together have done a good job. But getting back in 2019, we had 206, and these statistics come from the jail booking. This is who's booked into the jail. We had 206. The city of Jessup had 223. Together, that totals 429. If you divide that by 12, that's a little over 35 drug arrests a month. I don't think that's too bad. I mean, we're both working drugs is what I'm trying to illustrate here. And then I said, let's see what we've done this year. So I went from January 20th to July 16th of this year. We have made 185 drug arrests. The city's made 150. So there again, you still got 335 combined total for both of us, which is about 30 a month, which, I think that's pretty good for no bigger than each agency is. But this nonsense that not being in the task force with the city's causing problems, I don't think it is. I mean, I can work with the city whether I'm in a task force with them or not. I just chose to go in a different direction.
Well, I asked Chuck about the drug situation. He said meth was the big thing, but he said that's because it's cheap to make. Is that what you see? And, because we get the press releases from both the city and the county, and it just seems like it's a methamphetamine drug arrest constantly. So
meth is, but what we're starting to see more and more is that is so dangerous, is killing so many overdoses, is heroin laced with fentanyl. We're getting a lot of fentanyl around here, and it's bad. That's I can't go into details, but we're working some pretty high cases involving fentanyl right now. I can't go into much more detail than that, but
how do they get that? Do they have to have a prescription for that, or how do they get it?
That's a good question. It's synthetic. They can make it like they do methamphetamine, but and then you got the opioids that you have to deal with, pharmaceutical drugs that they deal with, and some of those are counterfeit. By that I mean they make them themselves. Right. Like counterfeit Percocet, for example.
And Chuck said also, he said he saw an increase in heroin. Why is heroin coming back?
Good question. I do not know, but it's certainly on the way back up. So, those are things that we're dealing with. And, of course, you still have marijuana. Of course, a lot of people think that shouldn't be illegal, but right now it still is. We don't make they don't prosecute a lot of cases that are less than an ounce anymore. Some they do and some they don't, but most of the time if you got large amounts, such as we had 40 pounds one time last year, and no, that was this year, 40 pounds, and then we had 2 pounds. I mean, that's some of our bigger ones with marijuana. But
right. You mentioned you want to go in a different direction of the task force. That's been a big issue between you and Chuck. Chuck says they should have a better relationship with the city. So just address that. The perception is that the city and county don't get along very well.
Well, I don't sense that. I disagree with a lot of things they do, but that's my privilege. But the fact is, I've been here 36 years. I've gotten along with every police chief over there. Especially, I've got Chief Hutchinson, Chief Takaki, Chief Knowles. Even when Mike Deal was there, I was a deputy then, but we got along fine. So I don't see that. You can make a problem where there's not one. Now, what actually happened? I heard him on the other day. He said the ACE team was never part of the county. It was called the Wayne County Drug Task Force, and we were merged together then. But it was never under the city. It was always, because actually the city has no jurisdiction in the county. So I'm certainly not going to be responsible for somebody in the county unless I have some kind of control.
All right. So do you have a drug task force just with the sheriff's department? What's it called? Does it have a title, or how does that work?
The one now, or what?
Right now. I mean, how's the sheriff's department fighting the drug?
Well, the Southeast Regional Task Force has got its own name. Our local thing is Wayne County Drug Task Force.
Wayne County Drug Task Force.
K-9 unit, which is, is part of that as well.
Right. How many people in the K-9 unit?
2.
So,
and I've got 1 working local drugs, which I need 2 to 3, but I'm working toward that. But, here's the things you confront, challenges that you meet, such as I just had 2 resign, one to go to Glenn County, and 1 resigned because he thought it was in his best interest. So, those are things now I've got to fill those positions, and depending on what I get and how long it's going to take to train them, it's delaying some of the other things I want to do, because you can't put somebody just come on the street into the drug office or investigations or whatever. But another thing that they don't mention, they want to mention that I pulled that drug. I didn't actually pull out; I just didn't get back in it. We had some inner turmoil over there. I pulled the 2 people out as I was asked to do. They kept it the same, and I just didn't think it was in my best interest to get back in it. But what they did do, we also had the investigator task force, where their investigators actually had officers at the sheriff's office to work with us, which gave us 7 investigators to work the city and the county. Now the city pulled out of that. I didn't. That was their choice to take their 2 detectives at that. But that was working. It was working well. So that was one thing that, they chose to do, and that was their choice. And, I respect that.
How about budget? Talk about the budget, and how does the budget work? Does the county give the sheriff's department a budget, then the sheriff decides where the money is used, or you have to have everything approved by the how's the budget work? The
budget, I submit my budget to the county commissioners or to the county administrator. He presents it to the commissioners. Once it's approved, then it's mine to spend.
So it's your discretion. Like once you get your budget approved, then you decide, I need this money for vehicles, I need this for equipment. Is that how it works?
They're line items. I got X number of say I think I've got 4 vehicles in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, we're hurting for vehicles right now. They're supposed to start getting some out of SPLOST, but we'll see. But for example, if I get say $120,000 for vehicles, that line item, that's what I'm allocated to spend in that. So I got to do the best I can with that. A lot of times I'll supplement line items with the expenditures from my drug seizure account to get some of the things I need. But the majority of our equipment comes from drug seizure stuff.
Well, people ask us the question all the time, how's your fleet? Because as you said, it's a big county. I mean, there's a lot of area to cover, so people ask all the time, how's the vehicle situation? Are the vehicles up to date, or how do you feel your fleet is right now?
They're depleted. I mean, let's face it, we put roughly 400 miles of 12-hour shift on a vehicle. Like you said, it's big. Just to give you an example, you got 954 miles of a road in Wayne County, about 450 of it's paved, so over half of it's dirt. That's one reason I chose pickup trucks. They hold up better. The other reason is when we get through with them, used to with a Crown Vic, we salvage it. It just sits there and they sell it for junk. Some of my trucks can be used at the recreation department, the road department, and other areas in the county. So we get more bang for our buck, so to speak, countywide, not just the sheriff's office, but the county benefits from it too.
I'm curious, we're in times we've never seen before, this COVID-19. We just gave the report on FCI's number, more than half the numbers back from March or at FCI, just with inmates testing positive and staff members. How's the local jail situation? Have you all had any cases of COVID at the local jail?
Not yet, knock on wood. I got asked that question last Friday, I believe it was, but right now we haven't. And some of the things we do, when you bring somebody to jail, we got an area that before you actually get in jail where we do our pat downs and check for weapons and all that kind of stuff. Well, we ask the normal questions. We take the temperatures before they come in. If it's misdemeanors, we pretty much, if it's required that we fingerprint, which just about everything you fingerprint on now, so it may be public drunkenness, disorderly conduct, stuff like that, you don't. But we'll fingerprint them and we OR them. We get a court date if they're cities, and the cities work great with us. That's the reason I don't understand. Chief Lane and I have a good working relationship, I thought, and still think that. But anyway, we work with them and they work with us, and we appreciate that.
Again, the early voting gets underway today. COVID-19 numbers continue to rise. So I asked Chuck, how are you reaching out to the voters? Is it a phone call situation? Is it door to door, or just meet and greet?
I go,
what are you doing?
I did a couple of meet and greets, like I said, but I didn't think that was a good idea after we started getting the rise in COVID, and the governor came out with his new directives. Even though he didn't tell you had to wear a mask, we strongly recommend it. We do public safety announces. I know that the mayor of Jessup and I have done ours already, but there'll be more doing it. But we believe that you do it, and there's some of the businesses which they can do on their own, like Walmart, for example. Starting today, you're going to have to wear a mask in there. I think Sam's is also doing it. I don't know who else, but those are things that we recommend doing to try to cut this thing down. But getting back to the jail, my lobby is closed. Now we're getting with all the unrest in the country, we're getting an enormous amount of pistol permits, concealed carry permits. And we couldn't postpone that forever, so we're still having to let people in, but we require masks, and as we fingerprint them, we have to do that part. The rest of it takes place at Judge Thornton's office.
And the court system's kind of been slowed down, though. There's no jury trials with this going on, so when do you think that'll start back up?
I had a conversation with Judge Scarlett last week, and we just don't know. We got to wait a little bit. You don't want to put anybody in any kind of danger, and let's face it, the way our courtrooms are set up, it's going to be close quarters. There's no getting around that. We have done in our courtrooms. We've limited the number of people, and we spaced them out. If you've been in there, you know what I'm talking about. But
I got to check.
And right now we do the video conferencing as best we can. But if the inmate actually wants to come, we won't have a choice but to bring him.
Well, this week that Midnight Rider case is expected to be scheduled. At least they scheduled for the 22nd. You have any idea if I guess I got to call the DA's office, see if that's still scheduled for this week. It's supposed to be Wednesday.
I do not. It was supposed to be Wednesday, and I know that you had some of the news media that were wanting to be permitted to carry cameras into the courtroom. I don't know what the judge has ruled on that. I haven't heard anything on that.
It is set for Wednesday, but like I said, it was originally scheduled, and they canceled it one time, so we'll see if it's still on for this week. So that'll be interesting in that case. So, again, what else do you want to talk about? I said it's your time. I said the early voting's underway. Again, it's funny, in the beginning they kept saying, you said that you weren't going to run, but you said all the time that you were running. So you're running. Here you are in the runoff. So you got till August 11th to get 4 more years.
I never said that, and Chuck called me actually and asked me. And I said, Chuck, I'm running. I said, if I change my mind, you'll be the first to know. And I don't know how that construed as I wasn't running, but that's what. And then I don't know who his reliable source is, but nothing more reliable than me when I told you I was running. But but that was his choice, and I respect that. And we've for the most part had a pretty clean race, and that's what I'm going to continue.
All right. Well, it's been clean between you and Chuck. I said, unfortunately, I didn't realize it got nasty at the last election at the end. But like I said, I don't have social media, but I heard it got kind of interesting and kind of nasty between a couple candidates, not you and Chuck, but Chuck and another candidate.
Well, that's, and I don't do Facebook unless somebody does. I don't even know the proper word for it because I'm technology challenged, as I've often said, so where they take a picture of it and send it to me, what was said on there. That's the only way I know about it. Right. Whether Chuck and I disagree, that's perfectly okay.
All right. Well, but like I said, it's been a clean campaign between you two, and I'm sure it'll be clean for these next 3 weeks. Just want to encourage people to get out and vote.
Well, that's the main thing. Be curious to
see, with the heat, and like I said, it being a runoff. There's the only race on the Republican ballot is you and Chuck. Is that correct?
Right.
And there's one race on the Democratic ballot. That's a congressional race between Lisa Ring and Joyce Griggs to see who runs against Buddy Carter. So it'll be interesting to see what the turnout is. But you would think it being a pretty important position.
Well, I think
it's a pretty important position. You would think people would turn out and vote and decide who they want the sheriff to be.
And the other thing, and I've said it many times, you've heard me that the sheriff's office does more than just work traffic answer calls. I mean, I have courts, I've got the jail, I've got 911 now. All those things, together compose the sheriff's office. And also we have Safe Kids Hunters. We got search and rescue as well under the umbrella of the sheriff's office. And, we got one of the best dive teams. Things that we have done. We've formed a tactical team. We formed an honor guard. One thing I'm proudest of is our Adopt School program. We started having walkthroughs with deputies, and then Chief Donnie Ray came up with the idea that we just had the deputies adopt a particular school, and that's worked well. We go as much as we can, through the school year. We're at these schools, elementary schools, high school, everywhere. We assist with the city's school resource officer. If he needs us, we try to help them out. So we're involved in this community. We want to stay that way. And I just mentioned our dive team, and then I hear about why don't y'all do patrol zones? Well, we do. But the fact is, you got 4 officers out there, you got 4 zones, and B zone's bigger than the city of Jessup. All 4 of them end up in B zone most of the time, so we can't be in the other ones like we should be.
Operation Southern Shield gets underway today. We got that press release from Captain Harris. Right. How's the Sheriff's Department involved in that to crack down on speeding?
that's what we try to do as best we can. Of course, we've got some enormous speeds out there in the county. I mean, I had one the other day, 110. Got caught. I've had we were doing the thing last Saturday, but some of the troopers here, they're on 203 within just minutes. They had 3 or 4 that were 83, 4 and above on 203. So speeding is unbelievable right now.
That's sad. Where do you stand on high speed chases? We've had that. I still think about the one that came through Long County and the trooper got killed. And where do you stand on those? Some people, it's argued all across the state, all across the country. Some, they're against high speed chases. Where do y'all stand on that?
Nobody likes them that I know of. It's almost never ends well, but and we've got in our pursuit policy what we try to pursue on and not pursue on. We do have stop sticks. We try to end them that way. We just have to look at them case by case, and then our shift sergeants, or if we're out, or if it's during the day that we can hear it, we'll make the call whether to terminate it or not. Most of them know when to terminate it, and by terminate, once you say you're not in it anymore, you don't follow it to wherever they usually end up in a crash. You just don't do that.
I know what I need to talk about, the policy about the chief deputy. Chuck said he made a mistake by saying he was going to put Mike Hargrove in, but the policy says that the sheriff can pretty much dictate who his chief deputy is going to be. He just can't fire at somebody or change the salary. So
that's not the policy. That's appellate case law that was upheld by the Georgia Supreme Court. That's not a policy. The policy he's talking about, he actually gave to Drew Davis at the paper, because Drew asked me about it, and I looked it up, and it was there. It was something I overlooked because, like I said, mainly we're looking at high liability stuff, uses of force. We're looking at vehicle pursuits, all those things. I don't look at the administrative part of it much. It's something I missed. I had the authority to change it, and I did so. I just deleted that part of it. If he's elected, he could put it back in there. That's up to him, but he can't override appellate law. In my opinion, that was the opinion of the court. Of course, he thinks it's not, so that would be his choice. It may be a moot point. I hope it is. I hope I win. Then we won't have to worry about it. But if I do and he decides to do that, and it's challenged by whoever's in those positions, because any staff position, he's not going to be able to mess with the liberty interest. They have property rights to that job. He can't cut the salaries.
Right. I know he can't cut the salary, but you're saying he can't even go in there and point somebody as a chief deputy?
That's my opinion on it, and that's the opinion of some of our attorneys that represented us back when this went through to the appellate court. Now, it doesn't say you can't transfer in the appellate court decision, but the job is supposed to be protected. If you can come in there and then just make a transfer, then it's not protected.
All right. So you're saying he'd have to go in and change the policy before he could do that, is what you're saying?
Well, the policy, you got to change the law.
Change the law. Okay.
Or either see if the law applies to that. That's what I'm saying. It may have to get decided in court. Policy and case law are two different things.
I understand.
And policy never supersedes case law.
Right. Yeah, if you just joined us, Sheriff John Carter in here, early voting underway today, 3 weeks. Again, the key is to get people to the polls and get them to vote, and it'll all be decided on Tuesday, August the 11th. It's the only race on the Republican ballot. Again, if you voted Republican back in June, you can vote Republican this time. Same thing, Democratic, but you can't flip. If you voted Democratic, you can't vote in the sheriff's race. Right. But again, also the question was asked: if you did not vote back in June, you can vote?
Sure, you
in
can.
This runoff.
Sure,
so
you
make
can.
sure people understand that if you didn't vote back in June,
as long as you register,
right,
you can vote.
Right. So there's been some confusion on that. I want to make sure we clarify that. If you didn't vote back in June, you're more than capable of voting here in this runoff, and can choose either party. But again, you have to be a registered voter. So.
Well, that's. Like you said, the one I think you used about the guys that went fishing and the guy lost by 3 votes. Yeah. I heard that, but if you look back,
they say it's a true story. I mean, back in the old days.
If you look back in 2004, a runoff with myself and Grant was avoided by 15 votes.
Right,
that's 15 votes that kept us out of a runoff.
Right. I've been here quite some time. I've seen a lot of close races. I've seen. Less than 10 votes a lot of times decide a race. So, again, every vote does count.
It does count.
Just want to make sure everybody takes the time to vote. And again, let your voice be heard. That's the only right you have, is to vote for the candidate of your choice. Like I said, I'm not telling you who to vote for. We're just telling you, if you're registered to vote, to please take the time and go vote for whoever you want to vote for.
That's right. If you want to vote for Chuck or me, just get out and vote. Let your voice be heard.
And some people like to write-in candidates. People have known to write in Jonathan Swift. Did you know that?
I've seen that. I've seen that before. But
yeah. But John, we appreciate you coming in here. Like I said, you've been coming in consistently. Like I said, you've been consistent all the way before the campaign. You told us that you were always, because those rumors are out there with social media. All the rumors are out that you weren't running, but you made it clear every time you come in here that you are running. Well, you're in the runoff. So we'll see how it all plays out in the next 3 weeks.
Well, I've been, like I say, my lifelong resident here. I've been at the sheriff's office 36 years. I've been in every facet of the sheriff's office, from shift sergeant, investigator, JO, you name it. I've done it all. But right now, with this pandemic and this unrest in the country, I humbly believe my leadership is what we need as we battle the pandemic and the unrest that is happening in our countries, and the voters need to get out and vote. If they think we need a change, then they need to make a change. I'm
curious, with all this media, anti-police, anti-law enforcement, how hard is it to get people to apply to be in law enforcement? Most people say, why would you want to be in law enforcement today when you see on TV people in their face throwing bricks and throwing rocks, spitting in their face? I mean, it's got to be tough to be in law enforcement these days.
It is, and nobody does this because of money. Because, if it was, I wouldn't be able to hire anybody. Because almost everybody around me, even the city of Jessup, pays more than I do. The city of Scriven pays more than I do, or more than the county does. So that's not the reason they come. They come because they love this job and they're dedicated to it. And I think they're being portrayed as villains when they're really not. We help people a heck of a lot more than we arrest them or have to fight somebody.
It wasn't that long ago. I remember the signs in the yards that said "Blue Lives Matter." They were supportive of law enforcement not long ago, but now it's due to the national media, it's kind of turned the other way, which is kind of sad to see. But we say it all the time. These people in your line of work, every day they walk out their door, they don't know if they're coming back. They put their life on the line every day. So people should be appreciative of what they do, and I know we appreciate what y'all do. So again, I think Wayne County appreciates what law enforcement does in this county, but unfortunately, like I said, the national media has villainized the law enforcement, and you hear this defund the police and all that. It's just crazy. I told Bill Werkheiser that he just go up to Atlanta and pass a law that if you wanted to get everybody that wants to defund the police and put them in a database, so if they call 911, you don't have to respond.
Well, you hear they want to send social workers out, but I'm here to tell you.
I mean, come on, what are we talking about?
You got a barricaded gunman, you're not going to kumbaya him at the house. You're going to have to do like we had 8 hours we spent, a while back.
But see, without law and order, you got chaos. I mean, you got to have law and order. So I just, but yeah, I would think it'd be hard to get recruits these days. I mean, I'd like to know what's going on nationwide as far as police recruits.
Tough. I mean, I went to
the academy, things like that.
2018, I went, for example. I mean, we were hurting. We couldn't find people, couldn't find certified people, needed immediate help. So I went to the police academy, and there was 3 that were graduating that were pre-service, actually put themselves through the academy, weren't attached to any agency. And I hired 3 of them. I've got 1 left. Actually, he ain't going to be here long because he just is going to work with the Glenn County Police Department. But I hired 3, but the first 2 didn't make it at all, even through their probationary period. I despise
that protest I had in Jessup. What are we protesting in Jessup? Are we protesting Mike Lane? Are we protesting John Carter? What are we protesting? I mean, I can't think of any divisiveness in the county.
Well,
I mean, it's just, I would just, like, if you want to go to Brunswick and protest what took place down there, more power to you. But why are we protesting in Jessup?
Well, when the Ferguson event took place, exactly. So Reverend Mincy at Bennett Union and I were pretty daggum good friends. And I went and asked him, I said, what do we need to do? He said, we don't need to do anything. We don't have that here.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't have it here, so we don't need to do anything.
You're just creating it. They had that form. I said, they're trying to bait people. They're trying to make you say something. They can say, I've got you, So I didn't understand it. Still don't understand it. And I said, I think Wayne County's a great place. We live in a great community. I think everybody gets along for the most part. So anyway,
well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna listen to what they had to say. They had a thing at the farmers market, and I listened. Don't necessarily that I agree with everything they say, but they probably don't agree with everything I say. But
it just turned into a bash the president, is what I heard. So, I mean, whatever. So.
Well, those are things. Those are things we got to deal with, and it's a sign of the times. And I wish I had the answers. If I did, I could probably be a senator or something, but I certainly don't want to run against Sonny Perdue or Kelly, to be honest with you. But
like I tell everybody, just be blessed you live in Wayne County because it's a great place to live. I think everybody
it's
gets
full of
along.
wonderful people. You hear me say it all the time, and I guarantee you, when you've got a crisis here, they'll come help you. They will.
Just a good community. John, good luck. We'll follow the process. Like I said, we'll get the numbers every day. Hopefully a good turnout. That's the key. Hopefully people show up and vote whoever they want for this elected office. So we'll see how it plays out on Tuesday, August the 11th. But we appreciate you coming in.
Well, just mask up and try to avoid this virus. We don't want to spread any worse. And God bless our county, and God bless everybody that lives here. And like I said, they're full of wonderful people. Thank y'all. Appreciate you having me.
And that'll do it for today's world famous Butch and Bob Show. Have a great day.